you doing, everybody? We're back here on Tuesday in the great state of Wisconsin. Welcome to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. Today, I am joined by Austin. Once again, took the day off yesterday, but he is back. He got locked out of his room. And when I say locked out of his room, I don't mean he's got a dorm room. I don't mean he has an apartment. I mean he's got a house, okay? He has a house. And he was able to get into the house. He was locked out of his bedroom. So, Austin, please tell everyone how you get locked out of your bedroom.
Yeah, honestly, I have no idea how it happened, but I'm doing my homework, and, it comes around time to do podcasts. Next thing you know, I'm trying to open up the door handle. It's not opening. I freak out. I'm like, what's going on? I'm fidgeting with it. It goes, it's not opening. So $120 later and 20 seconds later, we got the door to open from a locksmith. So, yeah, there goes $120 of my life right there. So pretty much we need to start making money off this podcast is what I'm saying, Trage.
So this guy, this is what I'm getting out of this is, for some reason, there's a bedroom that has a lock that requires a key to unlock the bedroom. I've seen some little dainty locks on bedrooms before, but I've never seen one where I need a physical key to get it open. My bedroom, if I take my fingernail, a screwdriver, I can open up that little lock on there. I've never seen one with a physical key. So that was something here. So that's why Austin wasn't on yesterday. He didn't have access to any devices that could get him on with the show yesterday. So that's why he was MIA from the show yesterday. But we got him back yesterday and overstretched Monday. We had a lot to talk about. We were talking about the Badgers, the struggle with the Badgers football right now. We talked about the Packers a little bit. We actually had some decent things to say about the Packers for once. It's been a while, but we had some decent stuff to say. So that was, a bonus, I guess you could say there. We also, Badger basketball, we talked about them a little bit with their game against Tennessee. Today, we're going to be talking Badger football again. We got to look back at what we said yesterday, see what we're thinking about what we said yesterday as we've had time to cool off. Also talk a little bit more about the Packers. And then we're looking at Badger basketball men's, because tonight they will be taking on Providence, and that should be a great matchup there for the Badgers. So right away, I want to jump into the Badgers. Yesterday, I could pull up the whole recording if I wanted to and just completely let you guys hear it again, but I went off. Luke Fickell, the problems with Wisconsin, and basically, I'm not taking back my statements. I have not seen anything from Luke Fickell at Wisconsin right as of now that has shown me that Luke Fickell's the right man for the job. Now, there is that thing where you give guys time, and I'm not saying that we completely fire Luke Fickell today. I'm not saying that that's going to be the best solution to the problem. But what I'm saying with this whole statement is that everybody needs to stop making Luke Fickell seem like he is the god of the football field. He is not, okay? He is, at best, a middle-of-the-pack coach. He's not an over-the-top coach. You look at your top-tier coaches in college football. I mean, you could throw Nick Saban's on there. Kirby Smart's on there. Used to be Dabo Swinney was up on there. Everybody hates Ohio State, but you would throw Ryan Day up there because Ohio State's constantly in the conversation for college football playoff. You would throw on, before this season, Lincoln Riley would be up there. Jim Harbaugh's another guy you would talk about top tier. Luke Fickell's not there. He's not close to there. I'm throwing Luke Fickell in the middle of the pack right now as coaching-wise. So yesterday I went off about Luke Fickell and his coaching staff. And Austin, right now with this Wisconsin team, you want to put blame on players because players, right now there is a lack of discipline and everything else right now in this Wisconsin team, but that transpires back to how well are the coaches preparing these guys, and we're not seeing it out on the football field. So right now, do you put anything on this coaching staff for Wisconsin, and what do you think of this Wisconsin team right now?
Yeah, I think with the amount of money that we spent on Luke Fickell, you think that he'd be able to come in here and do a little bit better than what Paul Chris was doing. And now you take a look and you're like, dang, was getting rid of Paul Chris the best move for this organization? Paul Chris, he wasn't having the best year when we so and so fired him, and then we pick up Luke Fickell because he took Cincinnati to a playoff appearance, but he got killed by Alabama. I don't know. It seems to me like Paul Chris was more of that Wisconsin type of guy, and he knew the program. Just because he had one bad, it's kind of like just because he had one bad year, like the Badgers weren't winning a couple. Like the Badgers still made a pro or a bowl game, and now we're looking at Luke Fickell. Are we even going to make a bowl game now? Because we just lost to Northwestern. I'm pretty sure Nebraska's better than Northwestern, and Minnesota's probably better than both of those two teams combined. So, yeah, I think you can put some blame on coaching staff for sure, considering where we were from Paul Chris, and then we went to Luke Fickell thinking that we'd level up, and it seems like we downgraded, even though we still have those same pretty darn good players. We still got Braylon Allen. Invested into a new quarterback that we thought would be better, and we still got DK, and then we even added more guys to that offense. And we also got better, more coaches or different coaches like Phil Longo and all them guys. But I think you can blame a little bit on the coaching staff for how they're. I don't know if it's how they're preparing or what's going on, but at the end of the day, if you're losing, what was the score? 24-10 to a Northwestern team that hasn't really proved anything in the past how many years? That's just not good. We'll just say.
Yeah, and you look at a lot of fans are saying, and this is the big thing I'm seeing from fans right now, and they're saying that the Badgers don't have a lot of talent. They don't have a lot of talent on the roster. Okay. They don't have a lot of talent. You want to believe that? That's who you want to believe. Okay, that's fine. They say that they don't have a lot of NFL talent on this roster. Okay, that's fine. But I'm gonna name off a few teams here right now for you, Austin. And you're gonna tell me, and I have my answers for it, but you're gonna tell me who you think has more talent on their roster between Wisconsin and this team, okay? So I'm gonna look at the losses Wisconsin has taken this year. Northwestern.
Wisconsin.
Indiana.
I don't know a single guy in Indiana. And I know a lot of people know Braylon Allen, so I'm going to say Wisconsin.
Iowa.
Who do they even have on Iowa? I got to go Wisconsin.
The offense is atrocious, so you're looking defensively, basically, with that team.
Yeah.
Washington State.
That's
a toss-up.
That's a toss-up. You could give that a toss-up before they started losing some of their games, but
yep. That's a toss-up, but I still think Wisconsin's got – if you look position by position, I think it changes your mind there with a 2 there. But my point is that I look at these people and everybody who's trying to take it and say Luke Fickell doesn't have a lot to work with right now. That's fine. If he was playing in the Big Ten East and he had lost to Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, and he's got trounced by some really dominant programs, yeah, I would agree with you. But when he's losing to the likes of Northwestern 24-10 at Camp Randall, mind you, to Indiana, this one was at Indiana, but coming off of a loss to Ohio State where you played a pretty good game against Ohio State, you lose to Indiana, barely even in the game against Indiana. So you take 2 straight losses to subpar, and I'm going to put it there, subpar programs. Then you play Iowa. They don't have an offense. 15-6 was the final score there. Atrocious football all the way around. And Washington State, you had chances to win that game. I thought they should have won that game early in the year there, but they didn't. And that was your early season slip up that we expected out of this Badger team. But my point is that through all of this, Wisconsin still has a talented team. They're more talented than most of the teams in the Big Ten West that are currently beating them. And that's my problem with Wisconsin. So at that point, that's where I go back to the drawing board and I say, okay, what's Phil Longo doing? What's Tressel doing? And what ultimately is Luke Fickell doing to try and fix the problem? Right now, the Badgers have a problem. It's in the locker room. Because if we look like we talked yesterday, what Hunter Wohler had to say after the loss, he basically said that we're soft, we're not physical, we're not doing what the things the coaches ask of us. Then we go out there and expect to win. Guys got to look at themselves and find out find out who they really are and if they really want to play the game and be a part of this team. Because this is not what I came to Wisconsin for. To be completely honest, this is miles from different from what I grew up watching, and obviously I take responsibility for being part of the team. Whatever we can do to figure this thing out, but it's individually saying one thing and trying to do another. Tanner Mordecai came out after that, and if I can pull it up here, he came out and said, I want to know who has a give a crap factor in this program. So yeah, I'll be paying attention to all of that. Right now, Wisconsin players are not buying into the new system that came into Madison. And you can look at it any way you want. And I want to know how you look at it there, Austin. But the way that I see it, when this program flipped over, you have this phenomenal coach coming into Madison. If I'm a player on that football team and I see this phenomenal coach, if Nick Saban was coming to Madison and I'm a player on that team, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to learn everything I possibly can from Nick Saban in the short time that I have with Nick Saban at this university, because he's going to put me over the top. And it just baffles me that the credibility that we were all believing with Luke Fickell when he was coming to town, he was riding in on his horse and he was going to completely just resurrect this program that was apparently, in quotations, going into the dumpster. Now it's taking a backwards turn. Looks like it's falling apart. The locker room's falling apart. And you look at what Luke Fickell had to say after that, and he said it was embarrassing. And he said that this week here, he's going to find out who wants to be here and who doesn't. So what does that mean? If he's going in that locker room trying to figure out who does and who doesn't, is he going to start cutting guys? Is he going to say, get the heck out? I don't want you on my football team anymore. What? I mean, you don't hear this stuff. This is different. This is what happens to a program when a coach is sucking for 3 years straight. If Paul Chryst was still here, and Paul Chryst last year didn't lead him to a bowl game, and then in this season was struggling again, this is what you expect from players. But not when you bring in a new guy. You're supposed to be all behind this new coach, and nobody is. That's where I'm at with this right now, and that's the part that I'm kind of concerned about, is that guys are not buying into the new system that was brought into Madison.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, like you said, they're going now he's going to start finding out who wants to be here. Why weren't you starting to find that out in like spring ball or like last year or fall ball earlier this year? That's when you got to start figuring out, breaking down, oh, who wants to be here? That's the tough part. Those are the tough parts. Not 10 whatever weeks into the season. Now we're going up on the 11th week of the season. Now you want to start finding who wants to be here. Heck, we should be playing for a conference championship, not deciding who wants to be playing football at UW or Wisconsin. You know, that stuff, you can take that stuff to Northwestern, all that type of stuff. Well, now it's kind of trickling down to here on who wants to be at Wisconsin. Wisconsin used to be such a prestige college, prestige for their sports, and now it's like they have to coach effort. We shouldn't have to coach effort. Effort is, I want to say playing D3 football, we're not getting paid. We're doing this out of love. We're doing this out of love of the sport. We don't get paid anything. We're not no scholarship monies. We're not getting handed free cars, free headphones, nothing like that. Everything's for the love of money or love of the game. Now you go to a D1 Big Ten team. You're on scholarship and you're basically, not technically, but you're basically getting paid to be an athlete there. They're basically paying you. And the fact that you don't want to put up the effort and all that stuff because you're soft. Come on. And especially being Wisconsin. We used to be this hard-nosed grit team. You look back at the J.J. Watt days and all those days. And now it's like, come on. And maybe that could go back to coaching. like we just said before, I mean, what are they? What is Luke Fickell coaching them there? I mean, are they not teaching them grit? Are they not teaching them? I mean, you shouldn't have to coach effort, like I said before, but I mean, it just comes with football. Football is a gritty sport, and you just got sometimes you just got to dig down and want it more. And it seems like this Wisconsin team, like the more they lose, the more they just don't care and don't want to be there anymore. It seems like, and I don't know. And if this keeps up, who knows? Some players could just be transferring out of there just as fast as they transferred into Wisconsin. So that's kind of a scary thought, but that's just how NCAA business is now these days.
My biggest thing with the effort thing, like you said, is you can't teach it. But effort is comes from you buy into it, right? You buy into that system. You believe in it. You believe something can happen. And that's where my problem is. I don't think these guys believe in what they're being told. I don't think they believe in what's happening. And that's where I'm really starting to lose faith in the coaching staff at Wisconsin so far. And that's my problem. And I don't mean, we just gave Luke Fickell this boat of money. We basically backed up a dump truck on his front lawn and dumped out dollar bills. That's what we did. And you can't just completely back out of that now. You have to give him time. Okay, but how much time is time? We've seen programs fall apart. We've seen new coaches come in. You give them a heck of a lot of money and you say, oh, this is going to be the resurrection of our program. And it ends up being worse than what it was. So how much time is too much time with this coaching staff at Madison? That's what I think is going to be the kicker. We are jumping. It feels like you jump ahead a little bit, but you also, at what we got to do, talking about Wisconsin sports and everything in between, is we have to look at the future and we got to see, okay, a little bit from now, what do we expect? And right now, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to expect this year. Next year, the conference only gets tougher. Adding Oregon, Washington, USC. Next year, you play Alabama in there too. You're going to be playing Alabama. You have USC in the schedule next year. You have Oregon. So you're going to have some really big matchups next year. And that's where it gets tougher from here on out. I just feel, to me, the locker room is lost at Madison. I just feel like it is. They invited 12 people to come talk after the game there against Northwestern. Only 6 of them showed up. 6 players showed up out of the 12 they asked to talk to. And could those other 6 be the guys that aren't buying in? Sure they could have been. I don't know who the other 6 guys were. I didn't see that, but I saw 6 guys only showed up. So what they do moving forward, that's going to be a big thing. And to see when Luke Fickell said he's going to be figuring out this week who is buying in and who isn't, I really do. I'm interested to see what comes out of that whole scenario there. But with that, we have to jump over into the Packers here because we got the Packers. Just a little bit to talk about with the Packers there. And that is, I was looking around, watching a little bit of highlights from the last game there, and I was watching a little bit of Christian Watson, and then I seen a lot of stats come out on Christian Watson. Right now, I just don't see Christian Watson as the number 1 wide receiver on this football team. I don't see him as a number 2 even. I don't see him as a 2. I really don't even see him as a 3. I see Jaden Reed. I see Romeo Doubs. I see on Wicks. I see Dontavian Wicks. I see those 3 guys as my top receivers right now. Christian Watson right now for the Packers has become a non-factor. And I really do think, you can't put all the blame on him. Love has had some bad throws to him, some underthrows, but Watson continues he struggles to go up for those 50-50 balls. And that's where I'm starting to lose faith in Christian Watson being that guy for this Packers team. Maybe he improves moving forward, but right now, I don't think you can have him out there over the likes of Wicks, Reed, and Romeo Doubs. I don't know. How do you feel about that situation there with the Packers right now in the receiver room?
Yeah, I was going to say, just looking at the stats from last game against the Steelers, Jaden Reed had the most receptions with 84 yards and a touchdown. And then, like you said, Dontavian Wicks and Romeo Doubs are up there for receiver-wise. But then you also have Luke Musgrave as another receiving option for Jordan Love. And then Christian Watson is down there last with 2 receptions and 23 yards. Just hasn't seemed like he's done a whole lot this year compared to, his rookie or last year. His rookie year with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if it's a quarterback issue because it seemed like Aaron Rodgers was getting him the ball just fine, and he was scoring the ball pretty well. And then we saw a couple flashes when when the Packers played against the Eagles, I'm pretty sure, and you saw Jordan Love get the ball to Christian Watson. He scored a touchdown. Like you saw the potential there. I mean, when we kind of figured that Aaron Rodgers was going to be out of Green Bay, that's kind of the play that I go back to. I'm like, okay, if Aaron Rodgers leaves, we kind of have this still. I mean, we have that connection, and it seems like that connection's kind of gone away, and that could be Jordan Love just finding connection more with the other wide receivers, or it's Christian Watson just not giving enough effort. I don't know. Uh, it is tough to see though, because I kind of had hopes for Christian Watson coming in, because he was. I mean, he wasn't a he wasn't a first round pick, but like he was our second round pick. So I mean, that's kind of one of the highest draft picks we use at a wide receiver. And right now, he's not really doing a whole lot within our system with Jordan Love at the realms, or at the helm there. So I don't know. I mean, it's halfway through the season, a little bit halfway through the season. There's still time, I guess, to see if Christian Watson can come back and start playing football like he did last year for us. But I mean, yeah, I don't really know a whole lot about why he's not necessarily playing like he used to.
It's baffling. It honestly is baffling, and it sucks to see, but at the same time, if the struggles continue, you have to move on. You have to find somebody else to fill in that spot, and if you have him out there over the likes of, say, Reed or even Wicks, I mean, I would take Malik Heath at times right now. I thought Heath's had some moments, Samori Torre. You're giving him time over other guys who could potentially fill that void for you in the wide receiver room. So that's where I'm at with that right now. Looking at what Matt LaFleur had to say, he defended Joel Berry and the run defense in this one. He said that Matt LaFleur said it's baffling, comical, and people expose themselves when people critique the Packers for having two down linemen defending the run in nickel, because outside linebackers in nickel are defensive ends and therefore are down linemen. There's a picture that comes up from this game against the Steelers. You see the two down linemen, but you don't see any DNs or any outside linebackers even in the picture. And they have a wide view of the offensive line. So we wonder why the Steelers ran for I think it was over 200 yards against the Packers. I'm pretty darn sure 205 rushing yards against the Packers. You wonder why. So with that being said, the sad part is that LaFleur's defending it. He's defending Joel Berry once again for the struggles of this defense. And that's my problem with Matt LaFleur. Why can't you just let Joel Berry... Why can't you criticize your defensive coordinator? When your defense sucks, which they did, the run defense was atrocious. Why can't you just put the blame on him? Why can't you just say our defense needs to be better? I need to sit down with Joel Berry and figure this one out. Why do we never hear that? Why do you tell us, oh, well, there was this going on, or there was this going on, or we had the right scheme? The classic, we had the right scheme. They just audibled out of it and switched it up. So we were in the right spot, but then we weren't. I don't care. Then you're getting outcoached. Then you're getting outcoached week after week. If that's the case, you're being outcoached. If you're getting audibled every single time you're out there, first off, you're not hiding your packages. I mean, you're not doing a very good job at hiding packages out there. I mean, I always look back at Jim Leonard at Wisconsin. You used to never be, when he was the defensive coordinator for Wisconsin, they had so many safety blitzes where you didn't know the safety was blitzing until the ball was snapped. And then all of a sudden the backfield was loaded up with everybody you could think of on the blitz. But you didn't know it was coming. You could not tell from an audible. If you sent a guy in motion, you wouldn't have been able to tell what Wisconsin's defense was doing. That's my problem with the Packers right now. If teams are all of a sudden just being able to run a guy in motion and say, oh, well, this is what the Packers are exactly doing right now, let's do this. We got him now. That's a problem. And you need to address that problem if you are Matt LaFleur. Because otherwise, there needs to be somebody else in there taking that job. I mean, from your perspective, are you seeing it a different way? Because that's the way I'm seeing it right now, is that the Packers, if that's the case, the Packers are just being all around outcoached right now in these football games.
The only way I can see him defending Joe Barry is for the fact that they've only played 9 games, and so there's still a lot. There's still a long season to go. So he doesn't want to. He's saying this stuff so he doesn't lose trust within the coaching staff that he's put together. That's the only reason why I can think that he kind of defended him. Because I mean, they still got what 7 games left on the year, so or 8 games left on the year. I mean, if you just go out, I mean, I get you can criticize your coaching a little bit, probably behind the scenes, but I mean, if you go out and say that and then rumors start popping up and then the media's all in it, and then I can see that a little bit why he wouldn't criticize him too much when talking to the media. But yeah, I mean, it could be a factor of just getting out coach. I mean, when when someone team audibles, that means they see something that you're doing wrong. So you gotta fix something on the defense. You can't just let it happen. Otherwise, they're gonna probably get a big play off of it. So yeah, I don't know a whole lot about Joel Barry and how long he's gonna be here for, but I mean, all I know is he's got 8 more weeks left officially as a Packer DC coordinator. So they're gonna have to make something work out of it. And I mean, after that, who knows? Hey, I wouldn't be mad if we somehow picked up Leonard at the end of the year. That would be amazing, actually. But I don't even know if he'd want to come coach in the NFL or if he just sticks to or if he likes to just stick into college ball. So
100%, 100%. Yeah, I can see the part of not wanting to criticize, but I think at some point somebody needs to take ownership. That's the thing, is somebody needs to take ownership, because right now you're just feeding, your fans drive your football team. That's the honest truth. Your fans drive them. And if you constantly tell your fans, well, it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault. So whose fault is it? It's got to be somebody's. Somebody did this. Somebody messed up here. Whose fault was it? We didn't have a problem blaming Aaron Jones there late in the game for not running out of bounds and he tried to gain extra yards. He didn't have a problem going after Aaron Jones right away about it. But when Jordan Love has issues, we don't talk about Jordan Love. We don't talk about any of those guys. So that's my transparency right now is huge with the Packers. We got to be able to unfold it and let the people know what is truly going on with this Packers team. That's why I think the coaching staff needs to own up to what's going on and what they are doing actually to improve. Not just, we need to look at the tape and we need to go over it. Not any of that crap anymore. We want to hear the truth and we want to see what you're actually going to do moving forward. I think that's a big thing for the Packers right now moving forward. It was an improvement game. It definitely was an improvement against the Steelers, I would say. So, I mean, that's definitely a good news moving forward.
Yeah, and while watching the game, I will say, I mean, offense, they did struggle a couple times, but, I mean, that first drive right away, I mean, they scored on one of their first drives, and I was like, that actually impressed me. I mean, the defense gave up a touchdown, but the offense didn't show any hesitation. They just drove down and scored. So, I mean, if we can see a little bit more of that throughout this last half of the season, I mean, that'd be awesome as a Packer fan. I mean, that gets me a little bit excited. And, I mean, they had their chances to win the game. I mean, they probably should have won that game. When they kicked the field goal, they took the lead, and then our defense kind of just let the Patriots, not the Patriots, but the Steelers come right back down and kick their own field goal. But at the end there, watching the game, I'm like, we might have a legit shot to win it. And then one of my buddies is like, I mean, if we have Aaron Rodgers or we win that game, we're probably winning that game if we have Aaron Rodgers with those last minutes. I'm like, yeah, you're not wrong, but guess what? We don't have Aaron Rodgers. So we kind of have to go with what we have. So who knows how this half of the season is going to go. It's going to be interesting, but hopefully we just can keep improving. And the defense hasn't been too bad, but, I mean, this game it seemed like their rush defense really got exploited there. So definitely corrections need to be made. And hopefully the offense can keep on trucking down the field like they did on that one play or on that one drive.
Yeah, definitely. And a big thing you said there was if we would have had Aaron Rodgers, would it have been different? And I agree with that. It would have been different. I really do think. That's where my next question was going to lead to, and that is, okay, we saw an improvement game out of Jordan Love. It wasn't fantastic. I don't even put it as great. I barely put it in the good category, but it was an okay game. Okay, it wasn't over the top. I think he was 21 for 40 something. I mean, he was okay in that ball game. You know, it's been running through my head. We saw a little improvement there against the Steelers. How much more improvement do we have to see out of Jordan Love to be able to say, this is the guy moving forward? If we have a top 5 pick next year in the draft, and for some reason that guy that we believe coming into this next draft at quarterback is sitting there in the room and he's still available, what stops you from going after him and saying, we need that potential? We need that guy just in case. Because right now it seems like Sean Clifford is there to be the backup. So what to use? Because to me, I got to see Jordan Love get out of the bottom of the league there in completion percentage. I got to see him getting out of the bottom of the league there in yards. I got to see him moving up. I really do. I got to see better games. I got to see some 21 for 30 performances. I got to see some 21 for 35. I mean, something up to the top there, limiting turnovers. Because you look at this last game here, 2 picks there at the end of the game. 50-50 balls. Like we were talking about, Watson didn't really battle for him at all. But at the same time, underthrown balls. The one that was the second, the pick on their second to last drive, he could, I mean, if Love threw it over the top, I think Watson catches that in the end zone, but instead he underthrew him. That gave him a shot there to pick that one off. I'm just wondering, so to you, how long do you give Jordan Love, and what do you have to see from Jordan Love here to be able to solidly say in this next draft we can focus on, say, if Marvin Harrison's available, we go after Marvin Harrison. We don't waste it on a quarterback. What do you have to see out of Jordan Love?
I will say the same kind of scenario happened to Aaron Rodgers when we drafted him. He got sat behind Brett Favre for them few years, and then he came in and started, and a lot of Packer fans didn't like that. They wanted Brett Favre. Where's Brett Favre at? Why we choose to go with this Aaron Rodgers kid who hasn't proven anything? And that first year for Aaron Rodgers, I mean, it wasn't great at all. I mean, they didn't make playoffs, nothing like that. I'm sure the Packer fans had their doubts on Aaron Rodgers, but you know what? We stuck with him, and 2 years later, he brought us a Super Bowl. And then now he's the Aaron Rodgers that we all know now, who has how many MVPs and all them records with the Packers and whatever. I think you have to give Jordan Love at least one more year. Even though he has struggled, you finish out this year, you try and, draft that Marvin Harrison. If we get Marvin Harrison or a really good wide receiver, and it's the same thing again, I mean, we're probably going to have another top draft pick. So I think then you can go and draft that quarterback. And I mean, I'm just trying to think. There are some decent quarterbacks in this year's draft. Depending on, Caleb Williams, I don't really know if he would pick fit the Packers system, and he'd probably be gone even if he does enter the draft by the time the Packers come up. But there's other decent quarterbacks. But I'm sure, like, every year there's going to be a decent quarterback that will probably fall to the Packers if they have another season like this one. So I say give him at least one more year, and after this year, and you just got to see how he plays. The odds of us actually drafting wide receiver in the first round are probably very low, so we're probably not going to. But you do give him some high talented wide receiver and offensive weapons, and then if we struggle, then I think it's time to say it's his fault, it's his problem, and prepare for the next year after that even, and look to see if you find a quarterback in the draft.
I can agree with that. And that is about all we got for the Packers. So we got to jump over to Badger basketball. But before that, we have to get to the fact of the day with Austin.
So on this day in 1957, the Milwaukee Braves' Hank Aaron won the NL MVP. I just thought that was pretty interesting.
Interesting fact there from Austin. A Hank Aaron stat for your Tuesday. With that, we're going to jump over into Badger basketball because they have the Providence Friars coming up tonight here in the Gavitt tip-off game. It's going to be, I expect a really good matchup. You look at ESPN Predictor right now, and they got Providence favored 66-33, but I think this game is going to be a lot better than that, and I do see Wisconsin having a good shot to win this ball game against Providence. I'm going to jump over to Austin real quick. He's going to cover a little bit of the stats for both teams here, some leading scorers and everything like that before we really dive into it.
So we'll start with Providence here. They've only played 2 games, same as the Badgers. It seems to me like it looks to be that their top scorer is Devin Carter, guard. He averages 13 points per game. And then their next top scorer is Jaden Pierre with 12.5, and then Bryce Hopkins with 12. After that, it's kind of a lot of single-digit scores. Josh Udero has 9.5, Devontae Gaines with 9, and then Garway Duel with 8.5. But the guys with the most minutes, Devin Carter, Jaden Pierre, and Bryce Hopkins and Josh Udero, all with above 25 minutes played there. Main rebounders for them, Bryce Hopkins with 9 and Josh Udero with 9 also. I mean, you look at their stats compared to, let's say, the Badgers. We'll look at the Badgers. Chucky Hepburn leading them with 16.5 points. AJ Storr, he's having a pretty good start as a Badger, 16 points. Stephen Crowell up there with 11.5, Max Klesman 11, and then Tyler Wall with 9. I'm surprised to see Tyler Wall only averaging 9 points there, but Chucky, I can see how he has his points, and then AJ Storr, I mean, he kind of reminds me of an old Jordan Davis. You know, he has that same kind of pull-up shot, but he can also hit the three-pointer. They kind of remind me of each other a little bit watching them there. But like I said, when you compare the Badgers to Providence, I mean, that first game against Arkansas State, it kind of inflated our numbers a little bit, I do want to say, because we did put up 105 against them. And then when we played against some real competition against Tennessee, we put up 70. So I guess you can say it inflated our numbers just a tiny bit, but I mean, overall, they still scored those points. And Providence, when I look at them, I just want to look over their schedule. They play Columbia and Milwaukee. Not 2 very good teams, I'm going to say. Milwaukee, they beat 79-69. So, I mean, when you look at the Badgers compared to Providence, Badgers, they got that good competition against Tennessee. They played a good team. They know what a good team looks like. I think the Badgers should be okay in this game if they're able to play Wisconsin basketball. I see the Stephen Crowell inside the paint against their big guys. I mean, they should be able to. I think they'll match up well. I think they'll be able to match up well. I mean, they're kind of 2 similar guys in Bryce Hopkins and Stephen Crowell there. And then their guards, it seems like our guards scored a little bit more than theirs, but I think it will be a good matchup and a good test for the Badgers as we have to get ready for those tough games that we'll play down the road against Marquette, Michigan State, Arizona, all those teams. So it's a good game for the Badgers to get a tip-off in, for sure.
It's definitely going to be a good matchup there against Providence. The Badgers in the series history have not fared well. They're actually only 1-4 against Providence all time. Their one win was actually in the first ever meeting between Providence and Wisconsin way back in 1961. They won that game at a neutral site. Otherwise, the Badgers have lost both games at home and both games on the road here in the series. So 1-4 all time against this Providence Friars team. So they have a little history against them, not very good history against this Providence team. Providence right now coming into it, they did get a new coach heading into this year. Kim English came over from George Mason. So that was their bigger boost, I guess you could say. And George Mason, they did bring along 3 transfers with English. They had ticket gains, like you were talking about there, and Josh Aduro. Both guys coming over from George Mason. Started with Providence there, having pretty big minutes for him there. So that is helping out a lot. Also, like you were talking with Stephen Crowell, Providence doesn't really play big. They have Rafael Castro. He's sitting there at 6'11", and Eli Delaro is sitting there at 6'10". Other than that, they don't really have big guys on this team. And those 2 big guys, I mean, those guys are sitting at less than 12 minutes per game apiece right now. So those guys aren't playing big minutes. So like you were saying with Crowell, it's going to be huge using the size advantage if you are Wisconsin, working inside out, get the offense working through the post, through Stephen Crowell, through Tyler Wall, when you have Nolan Winter in there, even Carter Gilmore, guys like that, kind of working through the poster. I think that's going to be a big thing, working the offense. AJ Storr has to be better in this game, working through the offense. Don't try to play one-on-one. A lot of times against Tennessee, it was a lot of AJ Storr trying to play by himself. He seemed like he was a one-dimensional, I'm going to do this by myself kind of guy. And when he worked through the offense, that's where AJ Storr was successful for the Badgers. So I think that is going to be key to the Badgers in this one, is using that size advantage to help them out there. Bryce Hopkins is going to be another guy the Badgers are going to have to deal with in this one. Led the Friars last year, 15.8 points per game. I mean, he was a prime player for this Providence Friars team. Coming back this year, he's going to have a big role in this Friars offense. So I think the Badgers really have to keep an eye on Hopkins in this game. But I think for the Badgers, it's also going to be a lot on how do they utilize the bench. You look at that Tennessee game. We talked about it there yesterday, talking about that game against Tennessee, second half. We didn't see a lot of Connor Essegian. We didn't see a lot of Nolan Winter. We saw a lot of the starters. The starters got gassed. So in this ball game, do we see a lot of Connor Essegian? Is he still injured? Is he still on a minute restriction? What's going on with Essegian? Looking at Nolan Winter, Carter Gilmore, McGee, even seeing a guy like Isaac Lindsley out there. Where are these bench players that we were hoping to see right away in the year? We thought we were going to go so deep on the bench, and yet now we aren't giving them minutes. So in this one, I think it's going to be big to see, because with Connor Essegian, you can't just expect him to come in the last 2 minutes of the second half, having not played all game, and just be able to light it up from downtown. He needs time to be able to get into the game rhythm. So having him regularly in there, if you are Wisconsin. Now, does that hinder your defense? 100% it does. He's not a very good defender. But at the same time, you need him out there for offense. So in this one, I think it's going to be a lot of how does Greg Gard coach this game? How does he utilize that bench? And what do the Badgers do in this one? I think for me, if I'm looking at my key players for Wisconsin, I'm looking at the roles of Stephen Crowell and I think Max Klesman. I think both them guys coming off that Tennessee game, I thought Max didn't shoot it very well, and I thought Stephen Crowell came around late, but I don't think he was a factor through the entire game. I think both them guys need to have big roles in this game for the Badgers for them to be successful. I do think the Badgers actually win this game on the road at Providence. I think after that Tennessee loss, these guys are a little ticked, but like you said, they know what a good team looks like. That Tennessee team is a Final Four team. That's a team that can put a run on. And the Badgers were, a couple stretch runs away from being able to win that ball game. They just couldn't get over the hump. They would get it down to 1. Then all of a sudden, Tennessee had an answer. They get it down to 2 points. Tennessee had the answer. They never could get over that hump. And I think the Badgers recoup and they regroup and they get back in this game here. And I think Klesman and Crowell will play huge roles for the Badgers. So what do you think for you? I forgot my score prediction. I'm going to say 70-63 Wisconsin. I think this is going to be a higher scoring game, but I got 70-63 Wisconsin. I got Crowell and Klesman leading the way for the Badgers in this one.
Yeah, like you said, I like the Badgers in this game, just kind of how they match up and the experience that they have on this team. I think it's going to be a little bit higher scoring. Also, I think it might be a little 80 to 72, 75 range. I think it might be a little close, but I think the Badgers will be able to. I think the Badgers will be able to push 80s, especially. It'd be interesting to see how AJ Storr does. Like you said, trying to run the, not trying to so much do his own thing, play ISO ball, but one-on-one ball, but more team ball. So that'll be interesting to see. But I mean, he's averaging 16 points, so hopefully he does get that 16 points in there. And then also Steven Crowell. I think Steven Crowell with his length, we haven't really seen him gone to work like he did at during the NIT tournament. We kind of saw Steven Crowell take over, and it was huge for us as we made that a little bit of a run there until we lost to that North Texas team or whatever. But it'll be interesting to see how those two do in this game. But yeah, I'm gonna take Badgers in this one over Providence.
There we go. There we go. And just quick, we're going to jump by the Badgers. We got to look at the Bucks from last night. They did pull off the 118-109 win against the Bulls. Giannis went for 35 in this one. Dame went for 12, Middleton with 13, and Lopez went for 11. So the Bucks got out of their losing ways. They got back in the win column. They will now play Wednesday. They have a matchup with the Raptors there. But with that, we got to jump over into the college football landscape. We got to check out the top 25 from last week there. See how he did predicting a little bit there. On Thursday, Louisville got the win against Virginia 31-24. Ohio State got the big win against Michigan State 38-3. Georgia, in a completely demolishing fashion, completely took and dismantled Ole Miss 52-17. Anybody who questioned Georgia and if they're still the powerhouse of college football, I'm pretty sure this game might have answered it for them. 52-17, 28-14 at the half. They put up double digits each quarter of this ball game here. I mean, Georgia put them. They put themselves on the map once again as we are the team to beat in college football. Looking down the line here, number 3 Michigan did beat number 10 Penn State without Jim Harbaugh on the sideline there, 24-15. Florida State got the win against Miami, 27-20. Washington beat Utah 35-28. Oregon beat USC 36-27. Texas got the 3-point win against TCU 29-26. Alabama got the win against Kentucky 49-21. Oregon State over Stanford 62-17. Wowza. Missouri got the win over Tennessee 36-7. UCF pulls the upset against Oklahoma State 45-3. Completely trounced the Cowboys there. That was a different kind of ball game there for UCF. Texas Tech pulls off the upset win over Kansas 16-13. Oklahoma trounces West Virginia 59-20. LSU beat Florida 52-35. Arizona got the 34-31 win over Colorado. Iowa somehow got to 20 points, 22 to be exact, and beat Rutgers 22-0. I couldn't believe that score right there.
It took them to the fourth quarter to get them, but they did it.
I couldn't believe that they put up 16 points in a game. I couldn't believe they put up 16 points a game, let alone a quarter. That's got to be something just massive for that program. They better put some kind of star next to that win right there because we scored 22 points. I think that was a big win for them. Tulane, the wave is still riding. They took care of Tulsa 24-22. They barely took care of Tulsa, but they got the win. North Carolina, they are a football school now. 47-45. They beat Duke in this one. And Kansas State with a 59-25 win over Baylor. What games stuck out to you most in this last weekend of college football?
Yeah, I'll pick out 3 of them. I'll go back to that Georgia Ole Miss game. Like, I thought a lot well, I mean, even myself, I mean, I was watching it a little bit. I saw it was 14-14. And then I was on the bus, so I put my phone down. And then next thing you know, they're up by a lot of points. And I'm like, all right, did not see that. I thought it was going to be a lot closer. And I think that just solidifies Georgia being that number one team. I think they should be that number one team for over Ohio State for the next who knows how long. And I think um, they did end up getting, or they are the number one seed now, or not number one seed, but number one team. But anyway, it just solidifies that even more on um, being an Ole Miss team that's not. I mean, Ole Miss, they were playing some pretty good footballs, but being them 52-17, that's crazy. And then I want to go back to that UCF versus Oklahoma State. I did not see that happening whatsoever. Considering
Not many
UCF,
people did.
yeah, considering them being, they were 1-5 in the Big 12 and 4-5 overall, and Oklahoma State coming off that one of their big wins against Oklahoma. I think that was 2 weeks ago or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but
Yep.
wow. And then especially UCF only holding them to 3 points. I mean, just think if USC could do that to these teams. I mean, they be dang near top four. So, and then lastly, Texas Tech versus Kansas. You hate to see it. Kansas losing on a last second field goal. It's a heartbreaker for Kansas. I mean, they were doing so well there, but I think big things are coming from Kansas, even though they did lose this team or lose the Texas Tech and this game. I mean, a 7-3 record compared to what they used to be, they're definitely moving in the right direction still. And Landslide pulled over there is doing some crazy stuff. But other than that, I mean, Arizona versus Colorado, that was kind of a close game, but losing ways for Colorado still continues to bite them. And then Tulane and Tulsa, love the Green Wave, sticking to their winning ways. And I saw James Madison also won their game, so they're 10-0. Love to see that.
There we go. There we go. I thought one game you didn't mention there that was kind of surprising to me. All the rest you said, definitely surprising. But the Missouri-Tennessee game, I expected it to be a little bit closer. 36-7, I thought was a little bit of a blowout. I thought Tennessee would. I think we picked Missouri to win that game, but I think we didn't. I didn't expect it to be a blowout fashion, 36-7. I expected Tennessee to play close in that one, and we saw the exact opposite. It definitely was a wild weekend in college football, and that's what you get. That's what you get. I mean, we're not seeing it in the top, but we're seeing it all over the place in college football right now. A lot of shakeups happening. I mean, we saw Iowa put up 22 points. I didn't see that coming. I did not see that coming in a million years. I did not know Deacon Hill from Iowa could actually throw for a touchdown, but he had a touchdown in this game. So impressive all the way around. A heck of a weekend of college sports. A heck of a weekend of, well, I shouldn't say Wisconsin sports. It was a weekend of Wisconsin sports. But with that, that is about all we have for today for you guys. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow. Thank you guys for listening. This has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. Thank you guys for listening. Deuces.